The sports media critics going gaga over the ratings that took place on Monday night. Now, I had a program director years ago in radio who took me aside. He says, why do you guys always talk about TV ratings? You work in radio. You should be worried about the radio ratings, not the TV ratings. I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. But it is a indication of how popular certain things are, how many people are watching. It's a wellness check. We talk about the Super Bowl ratings of the World Series, the NBA Finals, big events, the jewel events, as they are called. So anyway, get to the point, please. So all precincts are reporting in. The ballot boxes are closed. And I think you know what I'm talking about here, but perhaps not with Caitlin Clark avenging. She got revenge. The championship game loss, I'm told, a year prior. The telecast of the Iowa women's basketball team over LSU averaged 12.3 million men, women, and children on Monday night. Now, put that into context. They got higher ratings than NBA playoff games, most of them. They got higher ratings than the college football bowl season, the majority of them. And so it was the most watched women's college basketball game on record. Of course, not many people have ever watched women's college basketball, so it's not the last couple of years people have started to watch, but trust me, not many people watching prior to that. So anyway, highest ratings, we are told, most watched college hoops game. They said on all the platforms, which is kind of a bullcrap thing because they haven't had all the platforms that long, but the people over there in Bristol, Connecticut, bragging about that. Now, I read one story in particular that stuck to my ribs, and I wanted to discuss it with you. So I'm reading the story, and it was an online story. It was boldly saying, I guess you say boldly going where no one has gone before, but boldly saying that this is a point of demarcation, that the women's basketball world has now arrived, and they have now zoomed past the men's basketball world, that they're here. And now we have equal footing, and it's all because of Caitlin Clark and et cetera, et cetera. So let us discuss. Now, the question, keep it simple. Do you think the Caitlin Clark women's hoops television ratings bonanza is the signal of a changing of the guard? So I've got TV chef, hand grenades, and peacock. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make shelled peanuts. You only eat shelled peanuts at sporting events. Does anyone eat shelled peanuts outside of sporting events? Nah, come on. I don't believe that. They're messy. Yeah, you do it because you think you're a pig when you go to a game and you could throw the shells everywhere, and some loser is going to come pick them up for you because you're some peon because you're the man. Anyway, back to the question. So do the TV ratings for Caitlin Clark, Iowa, LSU, do they indicate a changing of the guard in women's college basketball versus men's college basketball? So I'm going to shake my head no on this. I'm going to go no. Let's not get carried away here. I will tell you that the product the men have put out is pretty bad. Don't disagree with that. Not going to sit here and defend men's college basketball. I think it sucks. It's terrible. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, it's because the men's game's great. It's not because of that. But this is a reminder, though. And the lesson is a teachable moment. The lesson here is kind of simple. We've talked about this a lot over the years, and one of the reasons that I think the show somewhat works, but any kind of sports conversation works, is it's about the personalities. It's about the storyline. Like occasionally you get the guy that calls sports radio and says, I just want to talk about the game. Well, that guy's a loser because it's determined, and it's been determined time and again, the thing that gets people to give up the most valuable resource they have, their time, is the subplot. And to the credit of the women's game, they had a good subplot here. No, I didn't watch the other night. I was watching baseball. It didn't really interest me, but apparently a lot of other people were watching LSU in Iowa when I saw the highlights. But the average jabroni did not all of a sudden fall in love with women's college basketball. That did not happen. They fell in love with the story. Right? The perception, you had a rivalry here. People like rivalries. Who's going to win? You have the star system. But to say it's all because of women's college basketball, the purity of the sport, that is a misnomer. A bold-faced lie would be the way you could phrase it here. But Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they were the headliners above the marquee. And if you build it, they will come. But it reminds me of a famous quote about the way people are wired. And I'm going to go old school. Probably don't know who this person is unless you're old, because the person's been dead for a while. But there was this famous TV chef years ago named Julia Child on public TV. And she had one of the great quotes of all time about people. When they started, she was like one of the first TV chefs. She might have been the very first one. They said, who the hell would want to watch a TV show of you cooking? It's terrible. And I remember the quote because it was so good, and it just delivered the dagger. But it sums up everything that this story is about that we're talking about. And she said everything, Julia Child's quote was, everything can have drama if it's done right, even a pancake. And you could put people making pancakes on and we've seen it. Right? We've seen cooking competitions. We've seen real estate competitions in reality TV. And so now you have, you have the rivalry. But in this case, a sport that has been mostly ignored gets an audience, not because people now love the sport, but because you promoted it the right way, you had the right mix of ingredients. But it's a standalone event. That's why, until proven otherwise, it's a standalone event. It's unique, unlikely to be duplicated, because Caitlin Clark is going to the WNBA, which no one watches. And so that's it. The story ends. And she'll get some endorsements, and that's great. And we'll see if anybody actually follows to watch that story. All right, now speaking of this whole Fugazi situation, right, this women's college basketball. So I several people email me, speaking of marketing here, about the drama-o-rama that took place the other night. And people were upset that we didn't talk about it on the show. When I say people, there were like 3 people that got upset. But that's enough. That's all we need. I'm easily moved. So if you didn't see it, I don't know how you could have missed it. Every gas bag and blowhard talked about this. So Angel Reese, who's the star there for LSU, she was a loser on Monday night. She lost, right? And let's just say she did not handle losing well. And she gave a rant that had legs and became the story that people were talking about after the game. But here is, if you missed it, here's a little taste of Angel Reese, the LSU player, and her complaints.
I just try to stand strong. Like, I've been through so much. I've seen so much. I've been attacked so many times. Death threats. I've been sexualized. I've been threatened. I've been so many things, and I've stood strong every single time. And I just try to stand strong for my teammates because I don't want them to see me down and, like, not be there for them. So I just want them to always just know, like, I'm still a human. Like, all this has happened since I won the national championship, and I said the other day, I haven't had peace since then. And it sucks, but I still wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything, and I would still sit here and say, like, I'm unapologetically me. I'm going to always leave that mark and be who I am and stand on that. And hopefully the little girls that look up to me, and hopefully I give them some type of inspiration that, hopefully it's not this hard and all the things that come at you. We're getting
the extended dance remix. All right, we got the good part. We don't need the rest. Who cares about the rest? I mean, we just needed the money part of the quote. All right, so you heard it. You even heard stuff you shouldn't have heard. So where are you at on LSU's Angel Reese complaining about essentially the trolls, right? That's just complaining about. This is an online phenomena, is what it is. So, first of all, it's good to know she's still human. And that's wonderful. I assume she was, but she clarified that, so there's no doubts. There's no doubts about that. But I guess the words I would use, tone deaf, would be the words. I don't want to be too critical. She's a kid. She's 21, so whatever. But just the mindset kind of is annoying, right? I would say the mindset is annoying in that, had LSU won that game Monday, do you think we get that rant? Probably not, right? We get the bodacious rant, hey, we're great, which you would expect, right? Because you won the game. You lost the game, and so instead of just being called a loser, it's like, oh, man, it's terrible. I'm going to get my deck of cards, and I am going to play the victim card from the bottom of the deck. And I just yawn at that kind of stuff. I do. I do. Because listen, I was raised where you kind of you didn't want to be the victim, right? You didn't want to celebrate victimhood, but a lot of people now, even our athletes, the victim, people are mean online. Video at 11, as they used to say back in the day. I get it. So you have options. You can stay away. You don't read the comments, can't do it, right? No self-control, can't do it. I've been pretty good. I stay off social media other than we're on the show because there's a-holes everywhere, and I just avoid it. And I'm fine. I don't need it. I can get ready for the show without using it, and so I'll maybe pop on once a day, and then that's it. Other than that, I'm on during the show. But when you put yourself out there, I think we all know this, when you put yourself out there, you're going to have the trolls attack. That's life in the big city. That's how it works. And if you play with hand grenades, prepare for the shrapnel. And there's a certain percentage, it's within the margin of error, of a-holes. There's more online because they can hide and all that. But in general, the sense I get with Angel Reese and the LSU coach complaining about every newspaper, I remember 25 years ago when women's college basketball players would complain, we just want to be covered like the dudes. Well, now they're being covered like the men, and they're complaining about that. So I don't know what to do. Third base, I don't know. All right, last word here. We pivot to a developing story from the King James Empire. And LeBron, now the Lakers played the Toronto basketball team, and we're not here to talk about that game because who the hell cares? Toronto blows. But the after the game, LeBron sounded like he was trying to shut down multiple reports that his kid Bronny is going into the portal. He's entering the transfer portal, so it seems that he is. Bron didn't totally deny it. He kind of downplayed it, said it's his kid's decision, but it appears with the USC coach Andy Enfeld heading to the Dallas area at SMU that this is a separation situation for Bronny James. So, USC going to lose Bronny James, it would appear. He's entering the portal. So with that being the case, how much value does Bronny James have? That's the question. How much value does he have? So on the MALLER scale of value, as a player, 1 to 10, with 10 being, oh my God, Bronny James as a player is a 2. And I'm being generous giving Bronny James a 2. The guy averaged less than 5 points a game. He shot 36% from the floor, and he was a backup on a crapola USC team. That ain't good. All right, so, but then you have to judge it. Yeah, I see 6'4", couldn't shoot, blah, blah, backup. But his value in terms of the Q rating, scale of 1 to 10, and I don't want to exaggerate here. I'll go low. 1 to 10, value of Bronny James, 479 would be the value here. Because Bronny struts around like a glorious peacock when he arrives on campus, his tail feathers up for the world to see. It's the family business, because if you get Bronny, you know LeBron's going to be sending comments out on social media about your school, and he'll maybe show up to a game or two, and cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's a higher stature of a situation.